What is good, y'all? Welcome back to Ron Masters stream, quick stream, whatever I call this thing that I'm doing. I am in the process of recording my audiobook for Fearless Freestyling. And it's day 4. We're focusing on your fears. And this whole process is why you're watching this right now and checking this out. Is my way of being able to continue to provide content to this channel, this particular platform, for people to access what Rhyme Masters is all about and what Growth Rap is about, in a way that is very integrated with just how I do things. Because for whatever reason, creating content for the channel and then creating content for the members kind of just can't seem to do both at the same time right now as a solo preneur operation. So this is what we're doing. It's kind of like the work in progress, behind the scenes. Just see it as it gets made. So anyway, enough of that. Day 4, we're talking about your fears. If you are interested in this, check the link in the description or the link in bio, and you'll be able to get an access to the recording of the ebook for free. Once it's done, then it'll be on sale at a reasonable price. If you watched the last broadcast for day 3, you probably heard me say it was like a little bit short, and I realized why it was short, because day 4 is going to be a little bit longer, because day 3 is really focused more on just let's see what the stories are that are limiting us, getting in our way of freestyling, getting in the way of expressing ourselves, that feeds our perfectionism, and just noticing what they are, get them to our attention. And then day 4 is when we start diving deep and thinking about what's the fear that is empowering these stories, that's hiding within these stories. So that day 4 is when I tell myself I'm not a freestyler, what am I really afraid of? If I were to be a freestyler, what does that mean that perhaps scares me? So that's what day 4 is. And we'll learn about fear, and it's have a different relationship with it. So, all right, let's get to the book. Let's get to it. So day 4, your fears. Today we learn a new way to deal with our fears. Freeing ourselves from perfectionism doesn't come from defeating fear. We won't fight our fears. Instead, we will learn that they stem from our need for protection, not from our imperfections. Fear is not shame. We fear fear. We are told there is nothing to fear but fear itself. It's in the big, the bad, the brash world of rap, we must be never scared, even though we are. So when we feel the smallest pinch of being afraid, we block it, deny it, or ignore it. We become ashamed of feeling afraid, so we try not to feel afraid. And when we try not to feel afraid, we succeed only by not feeling anything. So in the cool and the cold world of rap, we must never catch feelings. But how can you spit something we feel if we are afraid to feel? Fear is not shame and doesn't have to lead us to a shutdown of emotions. When we understand the true purpose of our fears become guides to find what matters. The purpose of our fears. Fear is a useful emotion. Our fears and the blocks they create often come from a protective instinct designed to keep us safe from perceived harm. Fear sounds an alarm of danger when there is a threat. Instead of denying the fear, let's say we chose to feel it. Then we can ask two key questions. What is the threat? And what is fear trying to protect? What fear protects? Fear protects our needs. There are four core personality needs: certainty, variety, significance, and connection. These core needs control what we feel, think, and do. Fear tells us stories to keep our core needs safe. We can't meet our needs if we only know their stories. Now, we know that fear is not danger, it's a story. So just like any story we tell ourselves, we can revise the fear story to align with our vision. All right, let's break there. Okay. Said simply and directly, fear is not danger. Fear is the threat of danger. Fear is the perception that whatever it is that we think is going to happen could lead to danger, but it's not the act of danger itself. And I think the next section, I'll dive into this a little bit more. So, in essence, fear is just a story of danger, but it's not the actual, we are not actually under assault or attack. And because it's so quick, and because our needs, they're vital. And I mean, I'm sticking to the personality needs, the psychological needs. But clearly, fear can keep you alive, right? Your physical needs as well. But I'm sticking to just the psychological in this particular case. So when we have our needs met, the certainty needs, the variety needs, significance, and connection, then we feel a sense of safety, right? That everything is going to be okay. And then but when we project or something enters that's new and different, that threatens the certainty, variety, significance, and connection, then we can start to perceive that, things are not going to be okay. There's more I could say here because, again, it's deep psychology. And there's literally courses and master's degrees in studying this stuff. But what I will say about the personality needs that's important to recognize is that certainty and variety can be opposed to each other, meaning if you do the same thing every single day, you'll establish a routine that gives you certainty, but then you're not going to have much variety in that routine. Then you could take each day as it comes, right? No routine, just go with what pops up in the moment. You're feeding the variety, but then that sense of certainty is not being met. And the same kind of thing with significance and connection is they have a similar kind of tension between the two. And I won't. So I just to understand that it's important because when you find that, it's like you get a movie that you love, you watch the movie, oh yeah, that's my favorite movie, but then you can't watch your favorite movie 10 times in a row because eventually the variety of that the variety is gone, the novelty is gone, and you'll eventually want to watch something else to get that new sensation in. So, all right. So fear protects our needs. All right, let's get to the next section here. All right, what's a threat? What's the threat? We judge threats wrong. A true threat is when our life is at risk. When freestyling, we can notice what our fear is protecting. We can also notice that our lives are not in danger. Yet, like a too strict security guard, Fear sees any change, fear sees any chance of error as a severe risk and shuts the flow down. Uncertain, we judge mistakes as threats, but mistakes are just events. We judge threats as danger, but threats are just signs of danger. Just as listening to a story isn't the same thing as living it, fear is just a story of danger. So I want to say this real quick and I'll keep going. So when we judge threats as dangers, but threats are just signs of danger, it's like potential signs of danger. It's like the edge of the cliff. The sign says, the road ends here. That could be dangerous, but it's the sign itself is not dangerous. All right. Revising fear stories. What's the worst that can happen for real? When I introduce freestyling in class, I ask my hip hop literature students this question. I'll say it again. When I introduce freestyling in class, I ask my hip hop literature students this question. First, they say nothing. Nothing would happen. But when I press them and play it out, indulge the fear for a second, I hear these kind of responses. I'll be embarrassed. I won't be good at it. People will make fun of me. So these are some of the fear stories empowering the resistance to freestyling. Before revisiting these stories, I ask students, what are you protecting? What are these stories keeping safe? Fear of embarrassment may protect the need for connection. I won't be good at it may protect the need for certainty. Fearing people's judgment may protect the need for significance. Then I ask students, what's true about these stories? The core needs are certainty, significance, and connection, but their fear stories block this understanding at first. Their stories of embarrassment, sounding whack, trash in their lingo, and being mocked could hurt, but won't kill. I asked them another question about these fear stories. Is it permanent? It's not, but fear fills forever. In revising our fear stories, we can recognize that we may be trash, be mocked, and feel embarrassed while we are learning. But we must remember three things. 1, every learning and growth journey begins with uncertainty and fear. 2, we are training our emotions as we increase our skills. 3, perfection limits our growth because excellence requires mistakes. When afraid and freestyling, we are experiencing danger from our fear stories, not the actual experience. With time, my students experience the difference between the fear stories and the risk of freestyling. The risk are not life and death. All right, a lot to unpack in that. I won't go too deep now because it could be I could spend a whole 20 minutes just unpacking this part here. But revising fear stories is essentially this work when we can distinguish fear from danger, and we can understand that everything that could go wrong in a freestyle within the realm of just possibility, or within the realm of just, not know like, but what if a meteor strikes? Like none of that stuff, right? Just within the realm of, nothing out of the ordinary happening. Nothing that happens during a freestyle will physically kill you. But what could happen during a freestyle could threaten that need, those psychological needs. But then when we realize what those needs are, there are ways that we can still engage in the act of freestyling, putting ourselves out there, but still protect those needs while still being able to freestyle and still be able to make things up in the moment. And really a lot of it is just what the work of this whole book and program is just the shifting of our mindset towards fear. And that's what this day is about, is when we feel the fear, let's seek to understand the needs that are at play, that are under threat, and then really think, okay, is that really going to happen? Am I really going to be embarrassed if I freestyle by myself? No. Am I going to be embarrassed if I freestyle with my friends? Potentially. Well, how close are your friends? What are the conditions, right? So now you can start testing those automatic stories and assumptions, because sometimes it may be a high risk of embarrassment, or maybe we're making the risk of embarrassment, inflating the story too much in our head, realizing that when we do freestyle with our friends, if they're our friends, they'll understand, they'll laugh at the mistake, you'll laugh at the mistake, and you'll keep it moving and keep it growing. And then I'll say this, and then I'll move into the next part of it, because this is where the meat of the book is, I think. Excellence requires mistakes, especially in freestyling. Your ability to recover is a skill. So in order to recover from a freestyle mistake, you have to be willing to make that mistake. Because if you're not willing to make the mistake, then you'll shut the flow down, and thus won't be excellent in freestyling. All right, let's get back to the book. All right, we're at escaping the impossible. Fear doesn't last forever, but we can't escape it. Remember this, because we crave being perfect to do two impossible things: escape fear and be perfect. Why do we do this? In my perfectionist days, I remember believing that if I were perfect, I could be certain my rap career dreams would come true. If I were perfect, then I would be recognized for my rap skills and significant to my rap peers. When my rap career dreams did not unfold as planned, I blamed myself, shamed myself, and believed I wasn't good enough to have a career on my terms. I noticed my joy for rapping was draining. If I didn't do something, I wouldn't just lose a dream, I would grieve the death of my passion. I thought my core needs of certainty and significance could be met by being perfect. Instead, perfectionism reinforced my fears, causing mistakes of inaction because I was too scared to risk failure. What's scarier? Fear stories become dangerous as they turn into shame stories. I want to, there's more to say there, but I think I'll save it for when I build the challenge course out, because there's a whole lot of my story in those few lines there, but more on that later. Okay, breaking out. Luckily, I learned the best way out is through. Accepting fear as part of living is how we defeat perfectionism. Understanding fear is how we discover our deepest needs. By revealing our needs, we can address the challenges of freestyling with less fear. Aligning fear is how we develop strategies to reach our vision of excellence. Okay. All right, let's just jump right into the practices. Get a little water real quick. All right. Day 4 practices, understanding your fear. 1, reflect in a journal or anywhere you can do distraction-free writing. Reflect on the fears connected to the internal blocks and barriers to your vision. What are the fear stories that get in the way? What core needs, certainty, variety, significance, and connection are found in the fear stories? How are your limiting beliefs connected to your fears? What else comes to mind? Another way to think about this step real quick is to, when you think about reversing everything that you're doing to block your vision, and again, everything that you're doing to block your vision, because your vision may not be strictly focused to freestyling. I just want to make that clear, right? Your vision really is a vision of who you want to become and how you want to live your life. And freestyling is a part of that expression of how you want to live your life. And so when you start thinking about those barriers again, those barriers, maybe barriers of freestyling, but they also may be barriers to living out your vision. When you think about doing the opposite of what's getting in your way, what do you worry about? That's another way of getting at the figuring out what's understanding the fear that's behind the stories that we're telling ourselves. All right. So 2, you're going to freestyle with your fear insights in mind. Engage in a freestyle practice session for 30 seconds to 3 minutes. Let your insights from your reflection guide your ideas and flow. Let go of self-judgment. Mistakes are expected and encouraged. The goal is to discover new thoughts, emotions, and insights about your core needs. Recording the freestyle is recommended as it helps in the next step. Review. After your session, reflect on the experience. What did you notice? What was surprising about the session? And what do you wonder about your fears? Note, this can be powerful and intense. This can be a powerful and intense session. Your emotions may be activated more than usual, but voicing these thoughts helps regulate their impact. And let's do the conclusion real quick. So, conclusion: fear is used best to protect us from danger, not freestyle rap. By being curious instead of judgmental, we can learn to live with less fear and freestyle with more freedom. This way, our fears become more than the guardians of our needs. They guide us through freestyling challenges to growth and creative self-discovery. All right. So next up will be the mindset. Let me add this for day 4 before we get out of here. So like I said, for this one, when you really start, especially if you're activated and if you've done this process and you're really thinking deeply about what it is that you want and why it matters to you, why it's no longer, be nice to have to live this way, to live my vision, but I must live this way because of what drives me there, what values I stand for. When you start thinking about the barriers and blocks and then really trying to understand the fears that are underneath them, it can be emotional and activating for you. And that's okay. I would just say, even if you don't make it through the freestyle session where like those fears are, you're really feeling them in the present moment. It's stopping your expression. Just note that in your review so that you can look at it later when you're less activated and, dig a little further, because ultimately the fear is there to protect. And when you realize that what it's protecting will still be safe, even if you engage in this new activity of freestyling, or I'll just say new because it's new. Like every freestyle is a new freestyle. It's a new moment, right? Whenever you engage in something, learning, you don't have to be afraid of learning. You don't have to be afraid of your learning journey. You don't have to be afraid of failure, because failure does not mean that, you won't be loved or you'll be alone or you're not good enough, right? As I used to believe for myself, until I, took my own journey with it. All right. So that is day 4. Next up will be day 5, your freestyle mindset. Thank you again for being here. I'll just say this again. So if you are checking this out now while I'm streaming or restreaming these broadcasts, you can get your free copy and free access to the audiobook recording. Check the link in the description or the link in the bio. If you have questions, email me, Desmond at rhymmasters.com. I will get back to you. And we're almost there. I appreciate you being here, Appreciate the comments, the love, the feedback. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited. Almost there, y'all. Almost there. Of course, we need some air horns. And as always, I will see you in the next one. Genius over doubt.